it's Melissa from Melissa's Creations. I am so excited to bring you this awesome technique video, and it also corresponds with the creator's blog hop for October 2018. The challenge this month was an autumn color challenge. Maria, one of my amazing downlines, picked this beautiful fall photo so that we could create a color palette for this challenge. The challenge rules say that you must pick at least 3 colors from the palette, and you can also include Very Vanilla, Whisper White, and Basic Black. For my challenge card, I made this beautiful fall-inspired card with a technique that I found on Pinterest by Patsy Collins, and she called this the Joseph's Coat technique. I'm really excited with how it turned out. It's so gorgeous, and I have all those fall colors in there, and then I went ahead and put a little bit of a accent out of that granny apple green ribbon. It is so yummy. And then these cute little sequins here, just a little bit more of a pop of color sprinkled through there. I did use the Rooted in Nature stamp set, so we're going to be playing with that again today. I can't wait to teach you this technique. Let's get started. So the materials we are using today are a scrap piece of Whisper White. This is so that we can stamp our sentiment, and then we're going to be fussy cutting that out. I also have a standard card base here in Whisper White. This is 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. We have a piece of pumpkin pie cardstock here. This is a standard card mat, and it measures 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And I also have a piece of shimmery white cardstock. Now for this piece, you could probably substitute a piece of Very Vanilla or Whisper White and it would work just fine. But I do think that the shimmery white gives a little bit extra to the background. It's hard to pick up on camera, but you can kind of see in the black areas, there's a little bit of sparkle there. So that's why I wanted to use the shimmery white cardstock. This is 3 3/4 by 5. So we're going to jump right into the technique of this card. So the first step, we are going to take our colors, and the 3 that I chose from this challenge include Pumpkin Pie, Real Red, and Granny Apple Green. So I'm starting off with Pumpkin Pie, and I just wanted to point out that these are the old style classic Stampin' pads. Stampin' Up! Has redone them this year for a cleaner and more sleek and compact design. I love these new pads, but the old pads also still work just fine. It's just a different style. So I have a sponge dauber here. I'm going to pick up some of that pumpkin pie, and I'm just going to daub it on, and you can either tap, 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 or you can do swirls, whatever method you enjoy the most. And I'm just going to put kind of large and small size swirls all over. And you want to make sure that at the end, once you've done all 3 of your colors, that you have absolutely no white showing. Okay, so now this step is really important. You want to make sure that you let this dry completely. You don't want that ink to be wet when you go to do the next couple of steps. So I'm just going to set that aside for a minute. I'm going to bring in my scrap piece of Whisper White along with our Memento in Tuxedo Black, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment. And for my sentiment, I am going to use You Are Wonderful from the Rooted in Nature bundle. So let's get that out now. We're also going to need a couple stamps. So I'm going to grab these leaves, and then from the other case, yes, there's 2 cases in this amazing set, I'm going to grab the 2 leaves here. For the Joseph's Coat technique, it's really important that you have stamps that have a see-through aspect to them. And what I mean by that is when you stamp this down, if you were to stamp this on a purple sheet of cardstock, you would be able to see purple coming through the stamp. It's really important that you see the background color that you're stamping on with the stamps that you choose for this technique to work properly. All right, so I'm going to ink that up in my Memento and stamp it down, and then we're just going to fussy cut it out. All right, so now that I have that cut and stamped out, I'm going to set that aside. We're going to bring back in our sponged background, and I am going to use my heat tool on the lowest setting. This is the Stampin' Up! Heat tool, and it does have 2 settings on it. So I'm going to use the lowest setting so that I can help this dry a little faster. All right, so now that our piece is dry, the next step is to take your embossing buddy and you're going to pounce and rub that all over this sheet of paper. And the reason we're doing this is an anti-static bag, and what we want to prevent is the embossing powder from sticking to the ink that it's not supposed to stick to. So we're going to be stamping our leaves in the Versamark watermark pad. And then we're going to be embossing with clear embossing powder. That's important too. You want to make sure that you're using clear embossing powder. So I'm going to get everything ready so that as soon as I stamp it, I can put some of that powder on there. And I'm going to do a few stamps at a time. Now, if you want to do one and then emboss and one and emboss, that's fine. But I think that I work quickly enough that I can get about 3 or 4 stamps done before I have to move over and emboss it with my ink. So another issue you might be facing is, since this is a watermark ink, it's a little hard to see where you're stamping. So you want to make sure that you don't, stamp over your leaves that you've already stamped down. So if you want to do 1 or 2 at a time, then you can kind of pour the powder on and get your placement so that you can kind of see better where those leaves are. Oh, it's looking so pretty already. I'm so excited. So I'm going to finish putting the rest of those stamps on there, and then I'm going to emboss the whole sheet at the same time. You can see all of that beautiful, oh my gosh, look at when it catches the light. Isn't it gorgeous? Just like that, it's beautiful. But wait, there's more. When we do this final touch, you will be blown away. It is so awesome. So I'm going to bring back in my Memento ink pad in the Tuxedo Black. And I'm using this time a wedge from our sponges. I think that this works really well. It covers a larger surface. I think you could probably also use a brayer. That might work. I don't know if it would get down into the nooks and crannies of these stamps, but you could try it. I just don't have a brayer on hand to give it a whirl. So I'm going to ink up that sponge and wait for it. And do you see what that does? Look how gorgeous that is. It covers up the background, but it does the ink resist on that embossed image using the clear powder. So just the background color shows through. I love it. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish that up for this entire piece, and I'll be right back. How fun is that, you guys? What do you think of this technique? Are you just blown away? When I first saw this, my mind just went, it was so awesome. Oh my gosh, I can't even describe how I feel about this gorgeous piece of cardstock right now. All right, so there's only a few more steps that we need to do to complete this card. I have my card mat in pumpkin pie, and I'm going to glue down my beautiful Joseph's Coat Technique piece of cardstock to that pumpkin pie mat. And now I'm going to take a tissue and I'm just going to gently rub on the embossed part to get any excess ink off to brighten it up a little bit. See all that ink coming off of there? All right, so now I'm going to use some of that beautiful textured weave ribbon in Granny Apple Green. I'm going to wrap it around and tie a knot on the front. So I have two different size dimensionals, our regular and our mini. On the back of my sentiment, you are wonderful, I'll use a large one at the chunky part, and I'm going to use a couple small ones on the end. And we're just gonna put that, I think on this card, I might actually put it up here at the top because I don't want to cover up too many of those leaves. And if I put it in the same place as my other card, I would be covering up this gorgeous leaf here. So I think I want to put it up there instead. Now I have some of our basic adhesive back sequins. So I'm going to get the ones out that are the lightest. They're basically Whisper White. And I'm going to take your pick tool, and with this little scoopy part, I forget what you call it, it's like a little spatula, I guess. I'm going to pick those up just like some sugar cookies. And I'm just gonna sprinkle a couple of these all over. And now we're going to get our card base prepared by folding that in half, creasing it with our bone folder. We're going to pop this up with some dimensionals. And there we are, creators. There's our gorgeous fall card using the Joseph's Coat technique. What do you guys think? Don't you just love it? I am so in love with this technique. I can't wait to go through all of my stamps to see what other stamp sets I have will work with this Joseph's Coat. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to click that bell icon so you can be notified when I upload new videos. You can follow me on the web at melissascreations.com, and you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/MKre8tions. I'm also on social media. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest with the handle at MKre8tions. Thank you so much for hopping with us today. Don't forget to go down to the description box and click on my coordinating blog post link. From there, you can see my blog post with more details and information on how I made this card, including all of the materials and measurements. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you on the next video. Bye!